is your name?
Look at you, look at you.
Look at me.
Okay. My name is Sazonov.
Anna, where are you from?
Originally, I'm from Ukraine. I was born,
Which town?
I was born in Berezno.
Berezno.
Yes, this is in Rivno area. Basically, it's in the northwestern part of Ukraine, very close to the border. So from here, it's about 5 hours of drive.
And then your family moved there to Israel.
Correct. When back in the 90s, once the Soviet Union collapsed, so my parents made the choice and moved to the land of milk and honey with the help of the Jewish Agency for Israel. And since then, I live in Israel.
Where were you when you got the call to come? We need you at the border.
So it's all started when the war started. Jewish Federation of North America, JFNA, started their emergency fund for Ukraine to help our partner organizations on the ground,
Right.
such as the Jewish Agency for Israel, the JBC, World Org, etc. So
Right.
we've been fundraising over $40 million to help our partner organizations. For me, as a Ukrainian that still have family there, for me as someone that sees Ukraine as part of my identity, I was looking for a bigger calling, a bigger mission, a bigger something. So I started talking with a lot of people from JFNA and also Jaffe to see what can we do, and are there qualified people in the North American community, Jewish community, that can contribute more. So on April 4th, that was the first delegation of Russian-speaking, Ukrainian-speaking professionals from North America that arrived to Poland to help. I was in this delegation because I work as the executive director of Columbia Jewish Federation. I speak the language, and for me it was the perfect fit to be here on the ground.
So you're an executive director of a Jewish federation in South Carolina, and this is a little bit different tafkid, a little bit different job.
Yes and no.
Okay, tell me how it's similar.
It's similar because this is our duty as Jewish people. This is part of Tikkun Olam, and this is one of the values that our federation is following, and also us as Jewish people, that's what we do.
Right.
Changing the world, making Tikkun Olam, helping others, Klal Israel, this is our duty, this is our calling. On top of that, why it's different, because most of the time executives sitting in their office.
Behind a chair.
Exactly. For me,
Or behind a desk, I should say.
Correct. Right, I'm the youngest executive director right now through all Jewish Federation of North America. I can work, I can be physically, and I can operate the organization also remotely. And as we see Zelensky, that really working with his people, I think it's a classic example also for other leaders and for other young folks to step up and start running organizations, and also for other organizations to really hire younger people, because we can do multiple things, including being on the ground and helping with operating everything.
How many people are coming through here a day right now?
That's a very good question that I don't know, but
Yeah.
right now we see like a down period, also because of the holidays.
Right.
But recently we see an increase, so it's sort of kind of the start of a second wave.
With the attack in Lviv today, do you think that that's going to start pushing more people?
100%.
100%.
Because people move from the east to Lviv as a safe haven, and now they have no idea where to go.
Right.
And a lot of cities are being released in the east, so we see also movement, also from the Jewish communities, such as Dnipro, the largest Jewish community
In the east.
in the east, in
Right.
Ukraine. So we see this movement, we see people coming.
And can anybody come here and get assistance, or are what's the job?
We are helping everybody. We will direct them, we'll tell them where to go, what to do, how to help them in their next steps, basically. If they're Jews, we're going to ask them where they want to go, or they want to make Aliyah, or they want to go somewhere else, because a lot of people have families in other countries.
All over the place.
Exactly. So
Right.
this is the beauty about the collaboration that we have right now with the JDC and the Jewish Agency, that we all, sharing information, sources, and we're making sure that once we have a Jewish refugee, we take
If
them
a
from
Jewish,
point A
right,
to
say a
point
Jewish
B.
family shows up here,
Yeah,
and they say we want to, go to our cousins in New York.
awesome.
How do they get from here?
So
Because we are far from New York.
yeah.
This is
So about New York, that will
like
be a
the end
little
of the
bit,
line.
In New York, for New York, it's going to be a little bit tricky because of the
Visa issues.
Exactly.
Right.
But for example, they have a cousin in Germany,
Okay.
or their daughter lives in Germany. So we will take them from here. We'll put them in a nice hotel so they will get like a moment to rest.
How are they going to get from here to the hotel?
We're going to drive them there.
Going to drive them there.
Yes,
Okay.
definitely. Or we have our drivers are going to drive them there. We're going to put them in a hotel. They're going to have a nice meal, clean bed, shower, take a moment to breathe, relax, make sure that they're safe. And then at the first opportunity that we have a driver that can drive them to their next location, we'll do that. If it's going to be on flights or a bus.
So you'll help with
train.
transportation to get
Correct.
to their destination. It's incredible.
But again, we need to understand that every case is different.
Every case.
Family is different. It's not that we have a plan for everything.
Right.
Once we're getting something, we're wrapping up, we're thinking, okay, what we have right now, who's driving where, what is the situation in different hotels, how we can assist this family, and then we
How many
start
people
up.
are staffing the Jewish agency tent here,
Ooh,
more or less?
employees, we have between 2 to 3 because some of them are going back home for vacation, but
Right.
we have a lot of volunteers.
A lot of volunteers.
Yes. So last week we had less volunteers. Yesterday we
Yeah, Passover is a tough time.
Yeah.
It's hard to get people. We know.
the opposite. People are
Oh, really?
volunteering
Want to
during
come?
Exactly,
Really?
because they get a
Really?
few days off.
Ah,
'cause they're coming
from Israel. From Israel, yes.
Correct.
From Israel, yes.
So we were the first, and I don't think we're going to have another delegation coming from North America. But we do have big delegations that are coming from Israel, and they do
Right.
speak the language. They speak
Right.
Ukrainian, Russian.
Right.
stuff like this.
So a lot of folks in the United States don't have those languages, but they want to help. What would you suggest?
That's a tough question.
Yeah.
There's a lot of
I know you're collecting money.
The easy way is to say, give some funds, support
Absolutely.
financially, 'cause
Critical.
we need it.
Critical.
We need it on the ground. On top of that, the war is not going to end anytime soon.
No, it's not.
And we have a lot of work to do also after the war ends. We need to rebuild Ukraine, the people, help them in the next step. So there's a lot of opportunities if it's not now for the next steps. On top of that, I will say my biggest message to everybody: don't forget about Ukraine. Keep Ukraine in our hearts, minds, actions, everything. Because one of my biggest fear, and also my family's fear, that right now they're in Ukraine, that tomorrow something else will happen in the news, and that's
And
it.
it'll
Everybody will forget about
Go to
Ukraine.
page 2.
Exactly.
Do you still have family in Ukraine, you
Yeah.
said? Where are they?
Berezno, where I was
They're
born.
still in Brezno.
And my family, my parents, made it back to Israel a week before the war started. So that was a coincidence. I pray Birkat HaGomel after that because they didn't plan to come back to Israel, and they didn't believe that a war.
Yeah, a lot of people
began.
didn't. I know.
And right now they're sort of kind of refugees in Israel because they haven't been there for 2 years, so they don't have a house in Israel. They back and forth. They're thinking to come back to Ukraine, and I'm like,
Right.
no, you should wait a
Right.
second.
Right.
And I cannot bring it to the U.S., so it's a little bit of unknown. So I can relate to a lot of what the refugees feeling right now. It's not an easy time, and thank you guys for coming and volunteering your time, your efforts, and making really, you're walking the talk.
Thank
and
you.
doing the
Thank
Tikkun
you.
Olam.
Thank you. Well, we hope to be of assistance, and on behalf of our communities, we thank you for what you're doing here, representing for Klal Yisrael in one of the most. It's bittersweet, and it's so heart-wrenching to see everything that's happening, and to see all these people who've lost everything and are running away with their backpacks. And then you see this row of nations from all over the world here to help. And I think the love outweighs the hate, but it is, of course, a very tough place to be.
And just, I want you guys to play a game. Walk around here and count how many flags of Israel you see.
Yeah.
How many people that have the Star of David on their vests, on their coats, because that's amazing. There is more Israelis here than other nations, basically.
Amazing.
A tiny country that's making so much, because this is what our people believe in. We were there 80 years ago. We cannot let it happen to other people.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hatzlacha.
Toda.
Chag Pesach Sameach.